Greetings, YouTube. So, today we are going to take a detour from our usual. We're not doing Transformers. We're not doing G.I. Joe. We're not looking at any Mezco figures or anything like that. None of the normal stuff that I might bring to you. I done jumped into another rabbit hole. That's basically what it is. So if you've been paying attention the past couple of weeks, NECA has had their haulathon. I guess you could call it a advertisement / festival, like almost like a Comic-Con, but at the stores. I don't know what you would even call it. Some type of propaganda. But basically what they've been doing is they have been doing these drops every Friday with many of their figures from their different lines, whether it's Ninja Turtles or Gargoyles or their horror lines, things like that. So that's what we're looking at today. We're going to take a look at the Gargoyles offerings so far, because I happen to have all of them, surprisingly. So let's get into it. Okay, so basically what I'm going to try to do today is, this is not going to be like a normal review, because as you can see, I got 4 figures here. I'm not about to review each one of these now. It's to be too long of a video. But I do want to talk about the line itself, and then take a look at them and talk about the strengths, the weaknesses, and what the future's looking like in case you're interested. So, for the uninitiated, Gargoyles, the property, the franchise, is something that, to my knowledge, started on with Disney, and they had a animated series back in the 90s, and it was about these gargoyles who were like these ancient race of mythical beings that turned to stone during the day, but at night they became flesh. And they would protect castles, they would protect the innocent, they would, they had families, kind of, sort of, they had clans, that's what they would call them, they had clans. And they would protect, different castles in medieval Europe and all over the rest of the world. The show concentrated on the clan led by Goliath here, who is their main, he was the main character of the show, and he was the leader of the clan. It was a really good show. And the funny part is that it was, the animation was cartoony, but as the show went on, it got very serious as far as the plots and the themes, and the bad guy was really complex. Like, he wasn't just a, twirling mustache comic book villain. He seemed like an ally at first, and then he betrayed them, and then he would be an ally again, and then they would find themselves in situations where they had to work with him because he was the only person that could help them do what they were trying to do. He made weird clones. Suits of armor based on Goliath. If you got Disney Plus, I recommend watching it. So, but the show aside, let's talk about the figures. All right, so before we start taking a look at the figures, I feel like if I'm going to do this overview justice, I probably need to show the packaging at least a little bit. And I will say that the packaging that NECA has chosen or has done with these characters and these figures has been pretty good. The presentation has been very nice. The pictures on the boxes are very nice. They have the little flap where you open it up, and then there's a picture inside. So the presentation is very good. You feel like you're getting a nice collectible. There's a cross sell. Those are some of the figures that are out already and the ones that should be coming up here soon. So this is the box for Bronx, the box for Demona, and one of the cool things about Gargoyles, and if you're a younger fan of stuff, you may not even have got this, and it may not even be on your radar, but the cast the people that did the voice roles for Gargoyles was a star-studded cast. I mean, I'm talking about back at this time, these were some of the hottest names in Hollywood. So you had Keith David, who is a spectacular voice actor. He was Goliath. And then you had many different people from Star Trek The Next Generation playing the roles of many of the other characters. So I want to say Demona was played by the lady who played Deanna Troi. The main bad guy, his name was Xanatos. He was played by Jonathan Frakes, who was like William Riker on Star Trek The Next Generation. Elisa Maza, the detective, who is kind of Goliath's love interest, kind of, sort of, even though she's human. I want to say she was played by Sally Richardson. So, like, the cast that they amassed for this cartoon was spectacular. But that's just, more ancient history. All right, let's take a look at these figures. Okay, so let's first look at Goliath. He was the first one released. And these figures, I want to say, because they haven't really come out with any human-sized characters yet, but from what I understand, these are supposed to be 7-inch scale. The Gargoyles themselves run big. Like, if you watch the cartoon, the Gargoyles are big, hulking, like, big creatures. And, a human, maybe female, would be maybe up to Goliath's midsection, maybe. Something like that. And maybe a male would be up to, like, here. But they're big. They're big guys. For the most part. There's some little ones, too. But most of them are around this size. So let's take a look at Goliath here. He is very, very well sculpted. Like, and the funny part is that when these first came out, some people were, not all the way happy with the amount of sculpt, because they are sculpted like a normal superhero -- action figure is sculpted, completely shredded, ripped, muscles everywhere. In the cartoon, they were drawn with a more soft kind of aesthetic, not all striated and ripped and shredded and, like they'd never skip any day at the gym. I actually like this. The soft form looks good in cartoon form, but in action figure form, it may not have translated well. The sculpt on these is excellent. I can't really, I don't have any complaints about the sculpts. I have complaints other places, but the sculpts, not at all. They look great. The tail does have a bendy wire in it. That's another nice touch. And then, as you can see, they have huge, huge wings. That's a good thing and a bad thing, which I'll talk about here in a second. So let's have a look at one of the other characters. All right, so I'm going to kind of go in order here of who was released in order. So we had Goliath first, and I'm pretty sure Thailog was released next. Now, you may say, well, that just looks like Goliath in a different color. You're correct. This was a clone, if I remember correctly, that Xanatos did of Goliath. And his name, Thailog, is Goliath spelled backwards. So he ended up being a bad guy. But once again, this show had very complex characters. Thailog was always betraying people. He was always making underhanded deals. He was very unscrupulous. He would always be like trying to get rich, like stealing money and cheating people out of money and stuff, making backdoor deals with criminals, and he just was a very, very different. The Gargoyles themselves kind of kept to themselves. They were more of a natural type, not really into all the technology of the new age and things like that. I guess I forgot to mention that they had gotten cursed so that they stayed as stone for like hundreds of years. And then the curse was broken by something that Xanatos did based on what the spell was that was cast on them, and that's how they came back to life. But they were people out of time. Like, they were used to the medieval times, and then they woke up in New York in the 90s, and they had a hard time adjusting. This dude, he was completely on board with technology, with all the different stuff of the new age. So he was a very complex villain as well. Okay, so Demona, she was recently released, and she was one of the stars of the haulathon. She was apparently, the way they had it set up, they were going to have a limited release of her at Targets during this haulathon, and then she'll be released mass market, at different stores later on. And according to something I looked at, I don't know if this is true or not, but according to something that I looked at, they were only giving out or sending out 2 of her per store. So apparently I got really lucky. Because there's still a lot of people that don't have one, that want one, and they're hunting for it and they can't find it. And they probably won't find it until she's mass market released, because people either are keeping this or they're selling it for way more than they should be. So if you're looking for it and you like it, you want it, be patient. It'll come out later. Don't pay scalper prices for it. But so she is also another complex villain, which is funny because we have, the main hero here, Goliath, and then we have 2 of his villains with the very next releases. She was actually his love interest back in the day when they were protecting a castle in Scotland. And she got involved in some magic. She got involved in some double crosses and some stuff that she was just, her hatred for humans had her doing some shady stuff. And she wound up getting cursed as well. And that's why she's still alive. She actually turns into a human during the day instead of stone, and then turns to a gargoyle at night. So, again, very complex story for kind of a supposedly kids cartoon. That's Demona. Okay, so the latest release, let me not knock everybody over here, is Bronx. So the Gargoyles are very much, they're very similar to the ones that you see, except for this guy. He's like a dog. Like, he's like a gargoyle version of a dog. He doesn't speak. He barks. He acts like a dog. He is loyal like a dog. So this is Bronx. And you're looking at this, like, the sculpt on this guy is incredible. Like, all the striations of muscle, the paint apps are excellent. This mouth is, isn't it? Yes, it's slightly articulated. Opens up just a little bit. But they take care of that, so you can have a completely closed mouth or slightly open. But then they also take care of that with an alternate head with it completely open. So there's that. But yeah, this is another one that a lot of people have been hunting for. This one, I'm not sure if it was a Target exclusive at first and then gonna go, to regular, or if it's just a haulathon thing. I am not sure. But that is Bronx. Excellent, excellent figure. Really nice. Really well done. Like, as far as the face sculpts, they're spot on to the cartoon. Spot on. All right, so we've looked at a lot of the good. Now let's look at some of the flaws. All right, so the flaws that they have really go back to accessories. So obviously these wings are huge on these figures, right? I mean, these wings are massive. They look great, but they also take up a ton of, space, and they cause you to not be able to have your figures together with other figures because the wings are always in the way, knocking stuff over. In the cartoon, when they glide from building to building or from rooftop to rooftop, they open their wings just like this. And it looks perfect. But when they're just chilling or they're just standing somewhere walking around, the wings kind of draped over them like a cloak. And they don't come with wings like that, which is a flaw. They should have included those in the packages for the original figures, even if it would have costed a few more bucks, because having them like this it's too much. You struggle for shelf space. Like, I can only fit a few of these people in the shot because they'll be knocking each other over with their huge wings. Speaking of the wings, and Demona is the biggest offender of this, I have seen a couple of, well, not a couple, I think I've seen one, where somebody had bought one of these and they had found a Demona and they were all excited. They took it home. They was going to do a review of it, and the ratchets and the wings snapped. This plastic, and just to be completely transparent here, NECA has been known to sometimes have QC issues and or use plastic that isn't durable enough to do what it needs to do. And these joints here snapped on somebody. Like this part here just broke off. And I've used mine. I haven't used them a lot, but when I've used mine, I've been very careful, because when I bend the wings as they're supposed to move along this joint, the ratchets are strong or tight, which is good, but the plastic, I don't know, is going to be able to hold up against that ratchet, especially if you do it too hard. I think his broke out of the package, actually. I'm trying to think. I think he went to move it once and it just snapped. So, got to be careful with that sort of stuff. Also, with her wings, they're supposed to be little nodules or little, indentations in the post that goes in her back to hold these up. But it holds up sometimes and other times it doesn't. You see it's holding up now, but if I move it a little bit, it just drops. It shouldn't do that. It should just stay up. So that is a weakness, and hers are the worst. Goliath and Thailog's seem to be working fine, and maybe it's because they're males, so their wings are thicker and bigger. Maybe the ratchets are a little bit stronger. I have not found that I have that issue with them. Like, I can move him up and down, and his stuff's good. So I don't know if it's because hers are thinner or what, but it's not how it's supposed to be. Other flaw. Well, this is the same idea. So Bronx here, as great as he is, one of the biggest draws to get him was that they included these, the cloaked wings for Goliath, which, this is a welcome addition. And if you're buying this line, chances are you're getting a Bronx anyway. You was going to get a Bronx anyway. But this is great, and it goes with Goliath, but what about everyone else? When are they going to get theirs? And who are you going to sell it with? Are you going to sell it with somebody that we don't really want? Hard to say. We don't know. So I would say, as far as flaws goes, the wings, especially with Demona, the attachment with the wings is not as tight or strong as it should be. I want to say these things run between like 35 and 40 bucks, depending on where you're buying it from. What you get for the money is pretty good. They do have a decent amount of accessories, and I'm going to run through those right now. We'll start with Demona here. In the show, she also was one to not be afraid to use modern technology. So she would come with, like, these huge cable type guns and be trying to blast people and blow stuff up. So she comes with a couple of futuristic guns. She comes with a different faceplate. When they get real angry and they start going, wild, their eyes get turn white and they start growling and stuff. Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention. Some of the aesthetic choices on here are spectacular. Like, they actually gave her real earrings. Like, are you serious? Who does that? Like, she has real metal earrings hanging out of her ears. I was not expecting that at all. She comes with this magic book. I want to say this is called the Arcanum Gamorum, and it does open to show some spells and such. Very well done. And then she comes with some extra hands. As far as Goliath goes, you get an extra head with him wilding out. He also comes with a book. This is just a regular book. He had started reading or whatever or read a lot in the show. He would read like classic books and stuff. Extra hands for Goliath. And then he also comes with a jalapeno, which you might be like, oh, that's a weird accessory. I guess he was like a big fan of jalapenos in the show, as far as I remember. As far as Bronx goes, I already showed you the extra head. And then the wings, even though they're not for him, they do come with him. And then you got a big rump roast, I guess. Something for him to chew on. Thailog comes with some pretty cool accessories as well. He comes with a nice briefcase with a ton of money in it and some keys. Excellent prop. Always like a briefcase with money in it that closes up by itself. And I must have scratched mine. Unbelievable. When did that happen? He comes with this gun that has a missile or a bomb or whatever that ports into it. And then you can also attach it to this huge thing, which I don't even know what to think about this. It's a nice addition, but I think it might be a touch much. So this is a big old effect piece. You can plug the missile part into one end, and then you can plug the gun into the other end. And he's supposed to be able to hold this like he's shooting that. It's way too heavy. It's way too long. The port that goes into the gun isn't long enough. It was a good idea, but probably could have been executed a little bit better. Okay, so I went ahead and put Goliath's cloaked wings on. And the cloaked wings are more of a rubber material, very soft, very pliable. Unlike the, really hard spread out wings. This is a much better, much more, put his head on real quick. This is a much easier to use, easier to display version of the gargoyles. Like, we need these for every one of the characters, because now I can put them in group shots. I can put them, in a stop motion. If he's walking around talking to somebody, his wings aren't going to be completely spread out. They need to be like this. This looks awesome. So this right here should have came with everybody, but they need to find a way to get it to us without making us buy stuff we maybe don't want to buy. So hopefully that actually happens. Real quick though, before I end, I want to try to just give you a quick little look at the articulation. This video is already long, but it is a lot of figures to go through. So we'll take a look at Thailog for articulation. So the head is on the ball joint, and you have the twisting, you have the moving as usual. However, the hair does get in the way as far as looking up. Your arms are on a regular type of joint. They are a little bit stiff, but you do have a double joint at the elbow. You do have a bicep swivel. You have a wrist hinge that is very normal. You got a diaphragm joint here that he can twist at. I want to say that's all the twist that you get. You don't get any twist at the waist. Your legs go out pretty far. There is a slight turn at the hip. You have a knee joint here. It's not double jointed, but it gets pretty good range. Because of their anatomy, they have the kind of ankle slash, I don't know what to call that, joint. So that's there, you have a joint there, and then you also have a joint at the toes. And as far as the tail goes, again, the tail has a bendy wire in it, which is very, very good. It helps with standing them up, and it's accurate because they did have tails. I want to say that's it. Okay, so real quick, final thoughts on the Gargoyles so far. I think the line is good to very good. The wings, especially with Demona, bit of a problem. Not including the cloaked wings, another problem. They are a little bit tricky to stand. Like I said, the tail helps a lot. They have the weird feet, so it's not as easy to get them to stand as you would like a normal humanoid type character. As far as the aesthetics, the sculpt, the paint, the design, spectacular. NECA knocked that out of the park. The little additions, like I talked about Demona's earrings. Then she also has like this is like a real metal anklet and a real metal little arm thing here, like that, and the texture on these loincloths and things like that. Even the texture and the paint on the wings. They did an excellent job with, bringing these guys to life. Now they just need to tweak the engineering things, like the wings and the things like that. They're supposed to be Hudson and Lexington. Is it Lexington or is it? Let me look here. There's 2 more coming out. I want to say the beginning of fall. So if you're looking to get into the Gargoyles, this is probably a good time to do it. They are pumping them out. You can find Goliath on Amazon or Big Bad Toy Store or something like that. You're going to have to hunt for Demona, but she's supposed to be widely available soon. Thailog is in places, and so is Bronx. All right, let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.